Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Today we are going to present a special report on the role of ethics in the global PR and communication model. As you know, in the Global Alliance, we are celebrating the Global Ethics Month, and we would like to share with you, and when I say we, I mean myself, Ángel Alloza, and Clara Fontán, the Director of Intelligence and Knowledge at Corporate Excellence Center for Reputation Leadership. What we are going to share with you is the global PR and communication model, which has been developed in joint collaboration with the Global Alliance, in partnership with the Global Alliance. Please go ahead with the slides. Thank you. And the sponsor contribution of Llorente Cuenca. Everybody knows about the Global Alliance. No need for presentation. It is the largest organization, an association of more than 300,000 associates all over the world. But I need to say just a few words about Corporate Excellence Center for Reputation Leadership. We are a non-profit think tank, an accelerator of innovation research and training, specialized in intangible assets, with a history of more than 19 years working together. This organization exists thanks to the generosity of some of the major Spanish and Latin American corporations. So this joint project is basically a project in partnership between Corporate Excellence and the Global Alliance, with an international steering committee representing different regions and personalities. May I say, starting with Jose Manuel Velasco, the immediate past chair of the Global Alliance, Justin Green, the president of Global Alliance, representing both the academia and Latin America. We have Dr. Amibel Sanchez, Dr. Wali Adamolekum from Nigeria, and Asia is represented by Rita Kemal. So this project has been a 2 years project of research and consensus. Basically, it has been conducted consulting more than 1,400 professionals in 47 countries. And the aim of this model is to have an answer from organizations, from companies, academics, and other institutions to the main challenges that we all have. On one hand, it is about building a long-lasting differentiation, and at the same time, building trust and social legitimacy to maintain our license to operate. If you get those two challenges right, what we obtain is basically advocacy at large scale and engagement with our stakeholders, which means by engagement, building and strengthening the social and relationship capital with all stakeholders. So let's start by describing very shortly, but very briefly, the 5 building blocks of our model, starting with its core component. The core component is the purpose, the corporate purpose. It is a cornerstone of the model. The next building block is corporate brand and culture, which is basically the way to activate and to express the purpose in all the touch points of our brand, and also through the corporate values, which means the attitudes and behavior of our employees. The next building block is reputation and mitigation of reputational risks. This building block is the result of activating purpose through the brand and the culture. What we get is a strong feeling of trust, admiration, and respect, which is another way of describing reputation. In order to activate purpose, brand, culture, and reputation, we need communications. This is the next building block, and it is a very holistic one. You see that it's all over the place, all over the model, because without communication, as you know, nothing exists. The next one is also a holistic building block. It is the capabilities of connecting with all stakeholders, connected intelligence, which means that our organization is closely aware of the expectations and also the requirements that the society is asking organizations to fulfill. Those are the 5 building blocks, the ones which allow organizations to face in a positive way the challenges that we have in green color. And what about ethics? What is the role of ethics into this global communication model? The very starting point, when we refer to the Global Alliance activities and the heritage of our model, we can mention the Melbourne mandate in 2012, and that mandate define and maintain an organizational or the organization character and values. And that Melbourne mandate had in its core pillars ethics. Then the Global Capabilities Framework was launched in 2018. And when we see the 11 core capabilities that any chief communication officer has to have, 3, or specifically 2 of them have directly to do or related with ethics. The first one is to align communication strategies with the organizational purpose and values. And the 10th one, which is work within an ethical framework on behalf of the organization in line with professional and society expectations. So we have built on those 2 previous fantastic works done and carried out by the Global Alliance. And now
what we are seeing is
how it fits with the results of our research. Please go on.
Yeah, just to mention that we are seeing that in our research, in our model, and according to the opinion of PR and communication professional, increasing reputation, building trust, and ethical practices are the top priorities for the future of organizations. So we are seeing that ethics is one of the top priorities for PR and communication professionals. And it is a key driver to generate trust and reputation. All the studies that we are following mention the idea of being ethical as an opportunity of companies' leadership. Because if we want to generate trust and reputation, we need to be ethical. So we are saying that ethics represent approximately more than 76% of trust and reputation capital. So this is something important because we are seeing that today companies are increasing their role, and this is because of working, or this is why we should promote ethical behaviors and embracing ethical inside of the organizations. And we wanted to introduce this idea because ethics, as Ángel was mentioning, was in the cornerstone of the Melbourne Mandate and also the capabilities framework, but it's also in the cornerstone of the global PR and communication model. And we are going to explain why.
It is basically because when a company defines and activates its corporate purpose, which is the first step, the first building block of our model, what we are doing is translating directly ethics, which comes from the Greek word ethos, meaning character and purpose. So our purpose, the center of the model, is basically referring to ethics. And the way ethics comes to life, it's because it's a framework for guiding the decision-making process and also aligning employees' behaviors. That alignment guarantees consistency, coherence, and integrity. So it is an abstract concept, if you want, ethics, but it is expressed through the activation and implementation of a strong corporate purpose, belief, and values.
And we are seeing that purpose and ethic should be understood as the fundamental basis of strategy and as this framework for guiding aligning behaviors inside of the organization. It is, according to our research and our model, it is purpose and ethic are a powerful tool for enhancing and aligning all the dimensions of the model and all the an intangible asset. When we talk about a strengthened brand, culture, reputation, and communication, we need to work inside or to work on this idea of defining and activating a strong corporate purpose. And there is a strong corporate purpose. Also, we are seeing that even if we know that it's really relevant for organizations, and most of our professionals said that it was an important concept to embrace, and only half of the organizations have implemented corporate purpose and are working on these ideas. So this is why, even knowing that it's important to generate trust and reputation, to promote alignment inside of the organization, there is still a long road ahead to promote purpose and ethic-driven organizations. Also, we are seeing that if we want to activate a shared belief inside of the organization and promote ethical behaviors, we need to define our purpose and our ethos with our stakeholders, not for them. So it means to integrate a participatory process for defining and activating purpose. And it involves both internal and external stakeholders, and it's key if we were to promote authentic behaviors. And we are seeing, according to the model, that there is a greater impact if we promote a 360-degree process in the way that we define and activate and implement the purpose and the ethical code inside of the organizations. Than if we follow a traditional method from top to down. So we are seeing that if we want to promote alignment inside of the organization and promote this culture of ethic within the organization and achieving all the levels of the organization, we need to promote this participatory process, or this idea of taking into account the opinion of internal and external stakeholders. Also, there is something important according to our model. When we ask a PR and communication professional about how to translate business ethics into practice, they mentioned that there are some important ethical behaviors to embrace a culture of ethic. And between them, we see that the most important behaviors to promote ethic inside of the organizations are related to honesty in communications based on fact, also excellence communication performance based on ethical codes and transparencies. Also, they mentioned the idea of training staff and employees in ethical issues and using the ethical guide in decision-making processes. And also they mentioned privacy. So here we can see how to introduce or embrace ethic according to the opinion of PR and communication professional. Also, there is something we can highlight something important related to purpose and ethic as a way of mitigating reputational risk. And when we ask professional about how to mitigate reputational risk, the code of conduct as a framework for guiding decisions inside of the organization and promote behaviors is the most important aspect for facing and mitigating reputational risk. So again, we see that ethic and purpose could be seen as an opportunity to create value and at the same time as a tool for mitigating reputational risk, using the code of conduct as the framework for guiding the decision that we make inside of the organization, following these ideas that Ángel was mentioning about coherence, integrity, and consistency. Also, there is something important.
Maybe if you come back to the okay. I would like, if you allow me, to add something.
Yes, please, Ángel.
Yes, this idea of ethics as an important factor to mitigate reputational risks, I think it's a very relevant one. If we have a look at this chart and remember that it is a result of a research conducted in 47 countries with more than 1,400 interviewees, what we see is that our professionals, chief communication officers, see a strong correlation between ethics and the mitigation of reputational risks. And obviously, one of the means to integrate a culture of ethics within an organization is basically by defining a very demanding code of conduct. But not only that, it is also about training employees on this idea of reputational risks and training them also on the importance of ethical behavior, because at the end of the day, they do represent the organizations. They are the ambassadors who build or destroy the reputation of an organization. That's why I wanted to come back to this chart, just to highlight the importance of this idea linking together ethics and risk mitigation.
Yeah, well seen, Ángel. And it's important to highlight the role of employees as builder of reputation, brand ambassadors, and this idea of protect the organization value, because how they behave represent how the organization think. So it means that they are going to impact on people and other stakeholder minds. So it's important to work really hard on this idea of the code of conduct, the purpose, and activate these ideas through the employees' behaviors, because at the end of the day, as you were saying, they represent the organization in all the touch points that they have with different stakeholders. And there is something that we wanted to highlight today, and is related to the code of conduct of Global Alliance as a global standard. When we ask PR and communication professional about the code of ethics that they know, they mention the Global Alliance PR and Communication Ethics Code as the most important one. So we wanted to highlight that it's something important to take into account as a global standard for the profession or the function of PR and comms communication.
Yes, and before entering in this demonstration of the role of PR and communications function in value creation and risk mitigation, if you allow me, Clara, I would like to come back to slide 22, which was the first slide of results of our research. It is a slide which is a little bit difficult to fully understand and needs some explanation. Obviously, the model itself is fully explained in the full report, which is available to all of you. Here, I just wanted to highlight a couple of ideas because the main insight that we discovered running out this piece of research is that purpose and ethics are a powerful tool to be able to enhance the excellent management of the rest of the intangibles. What we have discovered is that when companies or organizations define and implement their purpose, there is a direct correlation with the fact that they are going to manage in a better way both communication as well as brand and culture. And also, there is a role for the Chief Communication Officer, because it's not only a question of defining and activating the purpose, but as Clara has said, the key thing is to do that in the right way. And the right way is by conducting a professional methodology to define and activate purpose. It is not about defining your purpose for your stakeholders top down from the board of directors, and then you start the communication process and nothing happens. Basically, the idea is that you have to define and activate your purpose and your ethics culture, not for your stakeholders, but with them. If you do this in a large scale, depth consultancy approach, listening to the expectation of your stakeholders and checking that their personal purpose fits with the corporate purpose of the organization, then you are going to have an extremely powerful tool of transformation driving you to excellence and to ethics. So that's why I wanted just to highlight. And then if you wish, we can come back to the previous slide, well, to the next one.
Yes.
Say that yes, go ahead, Clara.
Well, here what we wanted to highlight is how the model demonstrates the role of PR communication function in value creation and risk mitigation. Because if we follow all these building blocks, starting with purpose and ethic in the middle of the model, then we will activate this culture of ethic and also the purpose through our brand and culture, through the behavior of our employees. And also this idea of reputation and reputational risk, we will be avoiding and mitigating risk if we implement and activate this culture of ethic since the organization. But also the concept of reputation, the third building block, is related to this idea of following society expectations and introducing stakeholder demands and ethical requirements in the process of making decisions. And this is where reputation is a powerful tool to connect what's happening outside of the organization with the decision that we make. And then we are seeing also that we have communication as a way to tell people and tell society things that we are doing. We need communication as a way to activate all the values that we have as an organization. And the fifth building block of the model is related to integrate an intelligent system of social listening and following social trends to anticipate ethical requirements and stakeholder demands. So this is why we can understand this model as a way of creating value and risk mitigation.
Mm-hmm. And let me come back to the previous slide.
Okay.
Just, I would like to say that now we are going to talk about you. What is your role? And there are 4 key points, 4 takeaways that we would like to share with you. The first one is that we can see all over the world that ethics has become a key factor in generating trust and reputation. And ethical behaviors require not only the commitment of the top management, but also a shared culture of ethics within the organization as a very powerful tool to filter and to guide decisions aligning employees' behaviors. We have seen that all over the world during this pandemic, companies who have defined and activated their purpose are acting in a much better way and are deserving this strong feeling of being admired and trusted. So the only way to create integrity, align behaviors, cohesion, and consistency between what we say and what we do is by having very clearly this idea of purpose and ethics at the core of what we do. The takeaway number 2 is that if the main role of an organization is to define its purpose and promote business excellence through its decision actions, it requires focusing clearly on stakeholder demands and expectations and being able to create economic, social, ethical, and environmental long-term value to all of them. And the role, the next takeaway, the role of the Chief Communication Officer is helping the organization embracing ethical behaviors. And in order to do that, the organization needs to know very well what is morally acceptable or unacceptable in society. Because if we know that, if we are connected with this collective intelligence, we will be able to allow the company to anticipate ethical requirements. So the role of the Chief Communication Officer is a very important one, because if we may say, it is a connecting leader between the organization and its stakeholders. And that is the reason why there is a direct connection between ethics and the role of the Chief Communication Officer, because of this idea of being the antenna, which allows you to read in a right way and with anticipation the changes in moral acceptability, which will become afterwards ethical and regulatory requirements. And the last one is how we can do that, how a Chief Communication Officer, how a PR professional can help the organization in really incorporating ethics into the heart of business activities. And it has to do not with what we say, but with how we are compensated. I mean, we require new indicators, new KPIs, complementing the traditional financial KPIs, such as the politics for remuneration, that's reward or directors, and ensure the internal alignment with values and principles of the organization. So it is clear that if the fulfillment in the everyday behavior of the director, the fulfillment of purpose and corporate values has to be rewarded and directly connected to his bonus. So this is the way you can become a company embracing the long-term value creation, both in terms of ethics, economics, social, and environmental capitals. If you need to know more, please download all the materials available for you in the site of the PR, the Global PR and Communication Model, where you will find a full report, a summary report, a presentation, and some other videos. Thank you very much indeed. And now what we are going to do is to have a very short session on Q&As, because we are getting some messages through the YouTube chat.
So, Ángel, the first one is related to how important is the participation of PR and communication professional in strategic decision making to ensure ethic guide the corporate strategy. To ensure ethic guide the corporate strategy.
Well, I think that this question is a very interesting one and has two components. First of all, we have discovered with our research that the chances, the probabilities that a PR and chief communication officer participates or not in the top decision of the company, which means the probabilities of belonging to the C-suite, are closely related with the idea of being the guide and the leader of the purpose, of the corporate purpose definition and activation. We have seen that if the PR and chief communication officer is leading or participating in this process, the probabilities of participating in the C-suite are much higher compared to companies where the PR and CCO is not forming part of the steering committee of the project, and also in a very different position if we compare the two main methodologies applied by companies all over the world to define their purpose. The first one, and unfortunately it's probably the most common one, is a definition which is done top down from the CEO of the company or the C-suite down to the rest of the organization. When companies are following this method, the power of purpose to transform and to build an strongly ethic organization is much more limited if we compare to the other methodology, which is the one where you define your purpose after a consultation, after listening very carefully to the expectations and analyzing the personal purpose of the different stakeholders that you wish to activate. So when we combine these two factors, the PR and chief communication officer leading the process, and the process is following a participatory methodology, then we have someone who's going to be part of the C-suite, or at least to be consulted for the most important decision-making processes within the organization.
Okay, Ángel. There is another idea related to the link between ethic and excellence. If you could develop it a little bit, like when we talk about ethic, business ethic, we are achieving excellence or business excellence.
Yes. I think that an excellent organization has an impact on the way the organization is perceived and judged by others. An excellent organization is basically building trust, legitimacy, and also the idea of generating advocacy and engagement. So an excellent organization cannot be understood without a very strong ethics governance. So I think that ethics is one of the key components. Without ethics, you cannot generate trust or maintain or enlarge your license to operate. So in the Greek world that we mentioned a few slides ago, ethics was closely related with virtues, virtuosity. And virtues are basically the behavior that any society expects from its citizens and organizations. And when you go a little bit deeper inside and you try to describe those virtues, then I'm thinking about companies because it's easier to apply this concept, in my case, to companies. What we find out is that there are 7 pillars regarding what society is expecting from companies. And if I may describe them very quickly, it is, first of all, well, it's not in order, but I will start with this, ethics. Ethics and integrity, that's one of the pillars. The second one has to do with sustainability. The next one has to do with your own employees. How do you engage with them? How they live, the purpose of the company. So the employees are the third pillar. The fourth one is innovation. Innovation understood as what you do in order to make life easier to anybody. The next one is performance in terms of economics. If you are not sustainable from an economic point of view, there will be a strong lack for your existence. And then we have leadership, because if the ones who are at the top of the organization are not embracing all these 7 pillars and embracing this idea of your company as guided by or driven by purpose and ethics, then you will not have the most important virtue, which is giving the example. Talk the walk and walk the talk, starting by your top leaders. So I think that those 7 are translated from the antique world to nowadays and applied to the business arena, the translation of virtues into behaviors and expectations.
Okay, thank you very much, Ángel. I think that we don't have more questions in the chat, so I think that we could finish this webinar. As Ángel was mentioning, all the materials about the model are available on this site, so you can go there and you can download the full report, the executive summary, the full video of the launch, and you can go in deep in each building block of the model and see the relationship between the model and ethic and how it is in the first step of the model, and something that we should embrace if we want to follow the roadmap of the future of PR and communication function.
So thank you very much indeed. Clara and I are extremely happy and satisfied to participate in the Global Ethics Month of the Global Alliance. And we share with you our humble contribution to the Ethics Month. Thank you very much indeed. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.